Hey everybody, welcome to 2018. I've had, about a month off, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. So today is an experiment day, so I just goof around and try new things. I've had this piano for a few months now. I'm still getting to know it. I've been lucky that I've been able to work in some really nice facilities in the past. So usually if I have a piano to work with, it's like a big concert grand or something. It's either a really nice Yamaha or a Steinway or something just that I'll never be able to afford. So when I was looking at pianos, number one, I was bored with really bright pianos, so I wanted something really mellow and something with not as much attack in the felts. So I found this older Kawai KG3. It's 6'1", so it's right there at a concert grand, I guess. It's not a baby grand, smaller grand, but it's older. It's a 1969, so it's mellowed out a lot, and it's just generally, this is kind of like Kawaii's version of, like, I don't know, the Yamaha C3, right around the same thing, but this is a lot darker sounding. So I was just bored. I wanted something a little different than I'd been working with in the past, but I went a little overboard, and it ended up being a very, very dark piano. So I'm still getting to know it and trying some new things. So I'm just going to show you some really weird miking techniques that you can try out. Because, most of us, especially if we're on a time crunch and we're in a studio where we paid to use the piano, you don't have time to goof around. So I have time to goof around. I don't have anything going, and it's in my space. So perfect. So yeah, let's take a look at some really weird mic stuff, because most of us are just going to throw some stuff over the hammers or space some stuff out on the soundboard. So we'll try some different stuff and see how it sounds. Let's do it. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at, right off the bat, just ignore this beautiful monstrosity right in the middle of the piano. We'll get to him later, but just for now, play like it's not here. So the first one, what I've done is I've taken two small cap microphones that are in cardioid. These are Octava mod mics, so they're Octava MK012s. They're modded by a guy named Michael Jolly. He basically makes them sound like the old Neumann KM84s. But any small cap would do. Ideally, I would, if I had a choice and I had them here, I would use AKG 451s. It's a brighter mic. It'd probably pair well with this piano, but I don't have any here. So this is what we're going to use. Any small cap will do. But the first mic, so first of all, these are pointed. These are kind of at a 90-degree angle complementary to each other. The reason we're doing that is to try to avoid phasing issues since they're kind of pointing at each other. If you keep it at 90 degrees, you're probably more than likely not going to have any phasing issues. I didn't hear any with this, but the first one, they're right over the hammers, and it's pointed down toward with the long strings. And then the second one is pointed over right across all the hammers. So my reasoning for this was that this guy, since the strings are a lot longer on this end, and you're going to have longer wavelengths, if you follow it down, you're going to pick up the low end a lot better, as opposed to if you had a space pair and they're usually pointing down like you usually do. So this will get a lot of the low end. And then this guy, the strings are really short on this end, and so if you're just pointing right over them, more than likely you're going to pick up a lot of frequency information. So high ones, we're going over them all to get an overall kind of view of the piano. And then this one's over the low ones to get the low end. And they're going to be spaced left and right. And let's take a listen and see how that sounds. Okay, so now it's opposite. Play like the two octavas are not there. They're not existing right now. We're going to talk about the AEA right in the middle. This one isn't too far out there, but I've honestly never really seen anyone do this before. So not that this is unique and I'm some amazing engineer, but it's a little different, but not really. So this is an AEA stereo mic, an R88. Right now it's placed right in the middle of the piano and really close. I've actually used this technique with this microphone on a Yamaha C5 that had very, very hard felt, so there was a lot of attack and the player was playing really hard. They wanted a really close sounding recording. They didn't want any of the room in there, and so all the space pairs I'd tried in close it was way too much. It almost sounded like wood hitting strings sometimes, and they hadn't, I think it was an R88. It might have been a stereo Royer. I can't remember. It was years ago. But anyway, it was a stereo ribbon mic like this, and they're kind of like an XY angled right over the strings in the middle. And you can play around with experimenting how high it'll go, but right now I've got it pretty low because you're going to hear it in tandem with the octavos a little later, but we'll get there. So this guy is kind of right in the middle of the piano. It's really close in, so you're going to hear a lot of attack with the hammers hitting the strings, but it'll still be mellow and it'll still sound like it's very close in. So let's take a listen to just the AEA right now. Okay, so now we can stop pretending everything's going to play together now. So like I said, the octava is sitting on the side. One of the only potential downsides, depending on what you're going for, is that it's a very exaggerated stereo image and it sounds like there's stuff on the hard left side and the hard right side, and then there's a little bit of a hole in the middle. So we're going to combine these two, and probably what I'm going to do is these will stay hard left and hard right, and then the AEA is going to be panned in probably 50% and blended in a little bit so that it's filling that hole in the image in the middle. And the cool thing about combining all these is just spatially, we're covering most of the piano. This AEA is so large. I mean, both those ribbons are pretty much covering this whole chunk of the piano. And then we're covering the sides too. So just practically, we've got the whole piano covered in a spatial way. So we're going to listen to all of these combined. The other good thing about doing this with a ribbon is that these are in figure 8. And so it's an XY. So generally we think about the nulls of ribbons being on the side, but you've also got a null on the front and the back of ribbons as well. So the reason this AEA was so low when we listened to it just by itself is because I knew I wanted to hear them together. So this is lined up with these two mics, and the null on the front and the back of those ribbons is blocking out both of those mics, so we're avoiding potential phase issues. So yeah, let's listen to all this together. Octavos are going to be panned hard left and hard right. The AEA is going to be panned in 50% to kind of fill that void in the middle. Okay, that was a pretty good experiment day, and there's a million other things we could try, but I've goofed around with a lot of other things, and I just didn't like it, so we'll leave it at that. And some people told me that my videos are too long, so I'll try to keep them short if I do more of these. So yeah, that's some different stuff you can mess around with, and try to have experiment days if you've got some time. They're fun, and forces you to keep learning. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.